Hey, I'm Thomas. Welcome to Pilot's Workshop. In this 3-video series, I want to show you how to make a beautiful file handle for needle files, like the ones that you see here that a friend of mine sent me recently. This is a commercially available file handle. It works beautifully and will be the example for what we are going to build. A standard needle file with a 3mm end can be placed inside, and with a small turn at the tip, the collet chuck inside holds the file securely. The system behind it is great, but I found it to be a little bit clunky and not very comfortable to work with, which is the main reason why I want to make my version of this. So let's begin by taking it apart to see how it works. When you unscrew and take out the tip, you see the 2 chuck parts that actually hold the file. Then comes a small ring-shaped piece and the actual handle. So this is what I came up with. All the mechanical parts I want to make from aluminium, and the main piece of the handle I want to make from a piece of oak that I have lying around in my workshop. My main focus was to make the tip as thin as possible while keeping the overall dimensions roughly the same. So I played with material thicknesses, as aluminium has superior strength compared to the plastic of the original handle. At this spot, the original handle has an M12 by 1 thread, while I want to use an M10 by 1 thread. This brings the overall diameter of the part down to 13mm, compared to the 15 to 17mm of the original handle. The 2 chuck parts therefore had to be reduced from 9mm to 7mm. The transparent part you can see here resembles the little ring piece that I showed you earlier. So let's get started with the wooden part. Off camera I cut this piece to length and prepared it for the lathe by marking the centers and breaking the edges. Now as you can see, I'm starting here on my metal lathe. I'm mainly using this machine so that I can drill a clean hole in the middle, as it wouldn't be safe to do on my tiny wood lathe. So I start rounding the part over between centers so that I can hold it securely in my 3-jaw chuck and drill the required hole. Because wood dust will mix with the lubrication film on the machine, it is seen as a no-go to work with wood on a metal working machine, such as this lathe, and therefore I'm always keeping the vacuum cleaner very close by so that no or almost no wood dust will fall on the metal parts. And after I'm done, I make extra sure to clean the entire machine properly. Now that I've finally arrived at my wood lathe, I can put the piece back in between centers and shape the outside of the handle by the eye. The only measurement that is important here is the area where the metal parts will be glued to later at the tip of the piece. I'm using a small gouge and fairly high speed to shape the part. And some quick sanding with 120 grit sandpaper in the end, because the fine polishing will happen later, as you will see. After cutting off the waste material, I quickly sanded it flush with the same sandpaper as before. Because a file handle will see any kind of dirt, metal chips, metal dust, fat and oil, as well as the occasional gasoline, I thought that simply protecting the wood with linseed oil or wax won't be enough. Also, I always wanted to try this next step, which is stabilizing the wood, using a clear, very liquid epoxy resin and a vacuum pump to press the epoxy into the wood, making it as strong and durable as glass or carbon fiber. So here you can see a small bowl from aluminium foil that I folded on a kitchen scale. I already poured 60 grams of the resin into it, and I'm about to pour the necessary hardener at the required ratio into the pot, which in this case was 22 grams. Close enough. And as always with these things, mixing is the key to success. What I'm looking for when I stir this is that all the cloudiness disappears. So when the liquid is completely clear again, I just mix a little bit more and then I'm done. Adding a little bit of heat from the side, like from a hairdryer, helps speeding up the process a lot. Then I put the bowl with the resin in a vacuum-proof glass bowl and placed the handle into the liquid. When you want to buy a bowl for this, make sure that the lid can be sealed vacuum-proof. I was looking for a bowl with a plastic lid because I wanted to drill a hole for the vacuum pipe into it, as you can see in the picture. Then I started the pump to see what would happen. My first hope was that from the escaping air in the wood, it would finally sink into the resin. However, it stayed afloat, so off camera I put something heavy on it to push it underneath the surface. And then the result looked like this. In the next episode of this 3-part series, we will finally get to some metalwork to make the mechanics behind this little project. So see you next week. Thank you for watching.